Hello, everybody. This is Chantel with Sweet Job Spot with our career chat. We're going to be talking with, oh no, my little notes just went away. We're going to be talking with our Master Life Coach, Misty, who's going to tell us a little bit about innovative job search strategies. And later on, soon we'll be joined by Kat Hoyer, who's also a career coach, and she's going to be joining us and talking about job search strategies. So, known as the innovative job search strategist for her unique and holistic approach to the job search process, the resume guru for her precision and completeness in resume development, people that are in Misty's presence believe that she has good luck, and it just seems to rub off onto them as they get calls for interviews, job offers, and more therein. Now, she is deemed the job search good luck charm. Welcome, Master Life Coach Misty. How are you?
Oh, I am doing well. How about you?
Excellent, excellent. I'm so glad to have you here on my second career chat
Awesome.
of my blog time. So I'm really excited. And you're coming to us from Houston. So what kind of great... Yeah. Okay, so I want to get started by just discussing what career coaching is, and then we'll introduce Kat. But you can go ahead and tell us what is career coaching? Why do people need a career coach?
Well, I think one of the reasons why people need coaching is that a lot of people their careers, they're taught how to basically maneuver it. They're taught. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And they're also taught how to do an job search. And most people actually don't know how to do job search.
And okay, so you are going in and out a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Okay, turned it up.
Okay, better. Is it in and out? Are you using a mic?
No, I'm not. I'm not sure where the mic is on here. On my laptop, I think it's over here.
You sound fine now.
I do. Okay, so I'll make sure to stand. I'll be by here.
Okay. That'll work.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. And so I'm so sorry. What I was saying before was that a lot of people don't know how to effectively, well, a lot of times they don't know what they want, number one. Okay. They don't know what career is for them. They may have been directed by other people, their parents, spouses, as to what guidance and direction as to where they want to go in their careers. And then they're not really sure what they would like to do. But then when it comes to the job search component, a lot of people aren't sure what to do as well, too. Because I'm famous for saying that we're not taught in high school or in college or in graduate school how to look for work. And so that is, I think, a lot of a reason why. Just the simple fact that, like, most people, like 3 to 5% of people send a thank you letter, right? Mm-hmm. That says already right there that it's just something we're not taught, something we don't know. And that is a given that we should do after the interview process, is send a thank you. And a lot of people don't know that. And so that kind of says to me that, yeah, a lot of people need coaching. A lot of people need to know more information about an effective job search. Yeah.
Yes, that's very true. And our Coach Kat, her visuals don't work, but I would like to introduce her as well. So Coach Kat brings nearly 20 years of recruiting and human resource management experience from startups to global and Fortune 500 companies. She can assist you in implementing practical changes that will make a dramatic difference in your results. Her passion has always been assisting individuals find their greatest potential, and her unique blend of experience in a multitude of settings has allowed her to help individuals and organizations achieve their goals and their dreams. Kat, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm not sure what's happening with my video. I know that it worked last time, and I even moved to the different spot in the house, so I apologize for that. But you've got the audio. Is it okay?
Yeah, the audio sounds fine. Maybe
Okay.
it'll suddenly start working for us at some
It
point.
might.
But what I asked Misty when she first came on was, what is a career coach? And she was just explaining to us kind of what is a career coach, why would people use them? And to recap, she talked a little bit about people not really knowing how to search for a job, not knowing what jobs to search for. And I just wanted to bring you into the conversation and listen to your perspective of career coaching and the need for it and why people would get one and how it would help them.
Right. And I agree with everything that Coach Misty said, that, you know, people don't necessarily know how. And a lot of times I find that when I am coaching someone, they might get a little frustrated with the fact that they don't know how to do it. And I always say to them, that's what I'm here for. You know, I was working with a nurse and I said, I can't go into your setting and do a blood draw. I don't expect you to come into my setting and know how to write the perfect resume or answer the perfect question. That's what I'm here for, you know, to help you. So I think when they look at it from that perspective, that we can really help them and enhance part of their skill set that they aren't necessarily trained on. And I think kind of what Coach Misty was saying too, you know, we aren't given these skills in school of any type. Now I have worked with some like trade schools, and they usually do a really good job with their career placement department, and they might teach a little bit, but the one thing that I've heard over and over again is, even when an instructor will teach a student a certain thing, when they hear it from a hiring manager or someone with quote unquote, you know, expertise that are different than theirs, it's sort of like when your parent tells you to do something and you don't listen.
Yeah.
But when someone else says it, you're like, oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And your parents over there, you know, smacking themselves on the forehead, like, I've told you that a million times. But
why didn't you listen?
Right. So, you know, I think that that's something, you know, I hate to see people beat themselves up for not knowing something that is our career, and it's what we, you know, what they pay us to help teach them, or, you know, they work with us so that we can help them in that area.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely agree. One of the things that I had thought about this weekend was how there's a couple of things that people don't really understand when it comes to job hunting. First of all, you rarely, if ever, get any feedback if you're doing it wrong.
Correct.
Except that you don't get the job, but you're not sure why. So that's something that's really, I have found frustrating for job seekers, because a lot of them don't know why nobody's calling them back. They were never taught effectively how to seek a job. And like for me, I go back to my first few jobs, and I'm sure you can go back to the first job maybe you had in high school or junior high, like babysitting or, you know, fast food jobs. Mostly through friends and family. But once you maybe get to a different level of different types of jobs that you're looking for, you might not have any friends or family that know anything about that. Mm-hmm. You have to cultivate those relationships with people. And part of what Sweet Job Spot does is, you know, we help people cultivate those relationships. So when you are, you know, when you go to Kat or Misty and you try to, you know, you need to look for a job, you know, this is an opportunity and a place for you to actually find the job once you know the job that you're looking for. Find people in the industry, because, you know, if I wanted to be in television and radio, well, I mean, I have a wonderful sister. She's great, but she can't find me a job in that because, you know, she works in retail and that's just not her area. So I think that is really important in the job hunt, going outside of what the few little bit that you learn. Kind of, you know, the two things you don't learn are the two things that help you the most in life: money and how to find a job. You know,
wow.
Right?
Wow,
true.
Parenting might be in there too.
What did you say? What else?
parenting.
Oh, and parenting.
Right.
Yeah, all the really important stuff.
I'm just saying, for me, I wish I had a little manual on it too.
School just passes over those things. School's like, no, no, no. You need to learn like Shakespeare because that's going to help you in life, you know? I'm not putting school down. It's not always very practical. And I think we forget that school is an avenue to teach us how to think, but sometimes there's not that little microcosm that we need in order to grow into what we are needing to do for life. The worst story that I heard was I met a gentleman who was a teacher, and one of his students graduated from high school, and he was back the next year, and they were like, well, what are you doing back here? And he's like, I don't really know what to do. I have nowhere to go. I don't know how to spend my time because nobody's teaching graduating students, coaching. They're not coaching them on how to get jobs. They're not really showing them what life means after high school. So you do have a lot of kids that, if their parents didn't get them a job, they wouldn't know what to do. They'd be standing right in front of that school looking sad, 19 years old and saying, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do after this,
I've actually been
supposed to do it.
Right. I've actually been hired by, I didn't realize that it was a niche, but by 5 different moms to coach their sons.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to be kind of a phenomenon of sons. I don't know. If it's maybe it's just a fluke that I haven't had to coach girls in that area, but I've had, but the mom has come to me and said, okay, don't tell him, but I'm going to pay you to get him out of my house.
That's what I think the objective is.
There you go. She wants him out of the house. I don't care how he gets out there. He's just going to get out. Oh my goodness.
I have one cat that I might be sending your way too, because he won't listen to me, but he might listen to you.
See, that's what happens. They don't necessarily listen to the parents.
Yeah, it's true. What you were talking about, I listened to a pastor talk the other day, and he said, he was talking about Christianity, and he was saying that in order, he had heard all the things that were being said, spoken to him by his parents, but he liked it better when he heard it from the other guy. He's like, well, when your parents tell you like be good and wait and don't drink and it's like whatever. But when you hear it from this guy that you think is super cool, you're like, oh, well, the cool guy said that I need to stop doing that. Oh, okay, well then, I'm definitely stopping. So that extra influence, I think, is really helpful and important. So good job, Kat. Excellent. So, Misty, who do you coach? Who's your primary target?
My primary target is my day job is where I am coaching people in reference to job search. And so it's a universal population, which means they could be receiving benefits of different sorts, or they can be coming out of school, coming out of college. Most people are downsized or laid off.
Oh, okay. And
that's
how do you coach differently, like the downsized and laid off people versus like the career changing types? Like, is your approach different? Is it pretty much the same thing?
It kind of sort of depends in the sense of some people, if they want to stay in the same arena, then basically they may not need additional tools. People that are career changers, to me, one thing that's really essential is that they may need to know what their transferable skills are. And like people that usually have been in one arena, they usually tend to know what their transferable skills are for that industry, for that field. But people that are trying to transition into another one, they have to get almost kind of reoriented to a new field. And so they're going to have to take usually their transferable skills from the previous industry and massage it into the new one. And
Okay.
so that may take some rethinking, that may take some retooling, and some relearning of verbiage that they may need to do. Yeah.
Wow. That's great. So have you seen like a big jump? Like, have you seen anybody that you've taken from, and I'll ask this to Coach Kat too. Have you had anybody that you've taken from like one extreme to the other and they've been able to use those transferable skills?
Wow. Yeah, I would say so, because the example I'm thinking of is like people that may have come, nothing wrong with retail.
Mm-hmm.
They may have come from retail, but then with a lot of the people that I'm working with, they may go to school. And so when they've gone to school and they're coming out, they're doing a career change. And so they really are doing that jump at that time.
Right.
And so a lot of those people are the ones that are really great candidates for that particular component of jumping from one arena to another.
So they're kind of like training basically, and the retail's just kind of keeping them where they are so they can have some money in their pockets. But
Right.
now it's like, now you're done. You've graduated from high school or college or whatever, and you're ready to go out into the world. And like, yeah, that's amazing. It's interesting that people can go from one thing to another and really transition like that too.
And one of the biggest things I was thinking of too, Chantel, is mentally making the jump.
Yes.
That's the biggest jump. Because, if I've been in retail for 5-10 years, and then I'm trained as a phlebotomist, it's like, okay. And then they may not have direct experience in it all the way. It's hard for them to make the jump. So they actually have to do it mentally first. And that's one of the biggest areas, I think, that people have to overcome.
Wow.
If you could see me, I'm doing a lot of head nodding right now.
Yeah, be verbal. Just be verbal.
I need to do this so that you know that I'm doing a lot of head nodding. But I absolutely, I think when you said that they need to, that it's a mental thing, I think too, to kind of go back to your question, to address the question of the difference between someone who's been downsized and someone who's transitioning. When someone's in a current position, there isn't the same sense of urgency that there is sometimes to find a position. But I also think when someone has been downsized, one of the things that I myself have been downsized 3 times. So I know the emotion that you go through. And I think that's something that no one really talks about, especially if it's something that you've put your heart and soul into, something that you've been in for a number of years. Another group that I work with is a 55 and older age group. So they worry about the fact that maybe they're being judged by different things. So, you're so right about it being a mental thing. And I think what we can do as coaches is really, one of the best things that happen is when I hang up the phone and somebody says, I didn't know how great I was. I'm like, you really are, because they need to really understand. And, especially when I'm working with somebody on their resume, we'll talk about, instead of talking about the functions of their position, I'm supposed to sort the mail, I'm supposed to, do these things, their job duties, we talk about their achievements. And I ask them to look for just 3 or 4 things that they're complimented on, that they've done well. I ask them to look back through their reviews, those types of things. And when they start to see themselves as an achiever versus just a doer, they're like, wow, I kind of rock, and it's a high five moment and it's fun. And, everybody feels good. So it's such a mental thing, Coach Misty. You're so right.
Yeah. And I really thought about that, Kat, because, one of the things I had written a blog about a while ago was, blue collar fathers and white collar daughters. And, it is kind of that mental jump when you get out of where your family's from or where you've been in all your life. I met somebody and she talks about how, she comes from an environment where people just don't work. It's like everybody's on public assistance, nobody really has jobs, and then to move into an environment where everybody is working, and it's like that mental jump of like, okay, well, I didn't have this, I grew up in a household, my father woke up every day, my mother actually ironed his clothes every day, like, it's very traditional, cooked us breakfast, we went off to school, very Leave It to Beaver, and, it's just very different from, other people that may have grown up in an environment where nobody worked or both parents worked, and nobody was ironing clothes because both parents were getting dressed and ready and shoving their kids in the car and bringing them to the babysitters in the mornings, So I guess everybody kind of had a different growing up. And that mindset, though, is important because we look to our parents, we look to the people above us for guidance of what should I do, or at least as a comparison, and when you don't have that, or it's wrong, for you, like with the advent of computer technology, lots of jobs have changed, jobs that your mom might have had when she first got out of high school are not the jobs that are available. So you do have to make that mental shift all the time in order to figure out what it is, how to feel comfortable with different things and moving. Like now there's a lot of moving with jobs, moving here, moving there. Like I said, I have a sister and she's in retail management. And so she moves a lot. They have her go from, one area to the other area to a district here and there. And, my parents were in the military for 10 years of my life and we never moved. So, so, it's like, huh? Like, what is all this moving stuff going on? Like, why are you in the is your sister in the military? I'm like, no. I'm like, my parents were, but they never went anywhere. So,
Chantel, you bring up a good point too with both of my parents. My mom just retired from a position that she started when I was 3 months old. Mm-hmm. And my dad is still at a place that he started before I was born. And I'll tell you, I'm 43. So, that they worked the same job. My dad actually transitioned from one facility to another. But he's been in the same job since he was 19. So for that, even for them, well, mm-hmm. let me first address that generation or just, in general, people feeling like I'm a job hopper or, is this good for my resume? The definition of job hopper has changed in my 15 years of being in recruiting, and now it's almost, if you see somebody who's been in a position for that long, you think, oh my gosh, are they adverse to change? Is this someone
right.
who can't handle a different environment? So it's a completely different mindset than it was when I first started, I think. But beyond that, kind of to your point, Chantel, of what, doing what your parents did, I am doing something so different from my parents. My dad had a lot of little side jobs, but for me to be my own, sort of have my own business and bringing in my own income, I know that they've lost sleep over that one, but you have to find, you do have to find what works for you and your family and your situation and all of those things. So, it is, again, it kind of goes back to it being a mental thing, it is a very much a mindset.
Yeah. And how to find the mentors that you need once you get there to stay there and not get discouraged, because like you said, if everybody around you is afraid of what you're doing and they don't have this kind of confidence to help you when you're not confident, sometimes you need people in your life that go, oh no, you're definitely doing the right thing. Like but if everybody's sitting there going, well, maybe you should just go back to that job, or maybe you should just go and, do what your family's been doing. It gets it can be challenging to find the kind of position that you really want because you feel this guilt and lack of worth and lack of desire. I see a lot of people, even in my job club, that talk a lot about, well, I just want to get a job, making $8 an hour. And I'm going, and they tell me that, you've graduated from high school, you might even have a degree of some sort, and you're still looking for a job paying $8 an hour. Misty, would you say that's just a mindset thing that is telling people that, I shouldn't command a higher rate at that point?
Wow, so say that one more time.
Well, I see people that they're in my job club and they might have a degree, some form of degree. I don't know if it's a bachelor's or an associate's degree, but they do come in and they state how much money they want to make, and it could be like $8 to $10 an hour. And in my mind, I'm going, well, why would you want to make that if you went through the process of getting a degree? You have to know you're worth more than that. But my question was, is that a mindset thing that keeps people thinking, well, let me stay, right here? Or is it an education thing?
It's tough because it's like, it seems like it's a dual-edged sword in a way.
Mm-hmm.
What do I mean by that? On one aspect, it could be a mental thing, and worthiness thing,
right.
kind of combined together.
Right.
On the other, it could be if we're not researching and aware of the salary expectations in our fields. Right. That's very, very important. I think a lot of people don't realize that or know that as well. But then the other thing is I seem to deal a lot more with people from the other end, right, where they've made huge salaries. And then unfortunately, when they step outside of the market, they're expecting and demanding those huge salaries still.
So they have to make a shift kind of downward to say, this is reality. Like these salaries are there, but they're not there the way they were. Or if you were making, say, $100,000 a year, you shouldn't necessarily expect to get another job making $100,000 a year right away.
Yeah. And I mean, I have seen people actually make more than they thank the employer that laid them off, because they're like, okay, I now make more than I did for you, in the past. Mm-hmm. That has happened. But I think just the reality aspect, and people may not be at the lower end, but right now at this point in time, it really truly is an employer's market. Okay. It is an employer's market. And I think that's something that's hard for people to know or realize. I think in years past, I think we have been very, very, as the United States, we have been in a job seeker's market, but now it's a employer's market. And I have been known for saying this, that they are asking for the moon, mm-hmm, and they're paying peanuts and they're getting it. I hope that doesn't sound rude, but
there's truth to that. There's absolute truth to that. I think, and I saw it as an HR manager. I saw hiring managers, or, we had to set budgets on what we were able to hire for. And we were always doing salary analysis and kind of going out to see what the market was and things like that. And sort of to your point too, Misty, on what you were saying with the candidates or the employees that have the expectations. One of the things that I used to have to really work with people on, more so when I was when I was an HR manager, it's a different conversation when I'm a recruiter or a career coach. But when I'm an HR manager, I have to let people know that employers don't pay you based on your financial needs outside of the job. People would come to me and say, I need to make more money. I can't pay my car payment. Well, okay, I'm just going to tell you right now that that's not a good way to approach it. How about I need to make more money because I'm I've increased my responsibility. It's just a really different mindset of coming at it. And I get it. I mean, we all struggle to pay bills, but you have to come at least with an employer. I deserve more money because of my skills, because of my responsibilities, because of my accomplishments. It can't be based on my bills
on your
or my drive. That was the other thing people would say. I just moved and I'm driving a half an hour longer than I used to. I need to make more money. Well, that's not a reason. That's not a.
Yeah, and to your point, I know that there used to be a time where, and I've heard this story before, and I don't remember who it was. It's a newscaster who said the story, that he told his boss, he needed to make $100 more if he wanted to marry this woman, his wife. He said, I don't want her father to think I'm a deadbeat and that I can't take care of his daughter. So can you please pay me $100 more? But he had to promise that he wouldn't ever ask for another raise again. And so he did make that promise. He ended up getting a different job when he wanted a raise. But yes, he did make that promise. And there was a time where, as a man, your responsibilities or your family may have come before, the corporate dime. But, the times that we're in now with large scale companies is very different. There's a wage range, a pay grade, you have to fit in. If you fit in that category, if you don't, even if you're amazing and they would love to give you more, they oftentimes can't. And the most jobs that I see that really enable you to dictate your salary, first of all, they have to be in high demand. Sales positions are definitely positions where you can predict, you can choose how much you make, usually based on the amount of work you do, is direct results. The direct result is usually how much you end up making. So sales is kind of the only position where you can really dictate your own salary. But most other positions, it comes from, like you said, the research. Well, how much are other people paying for for an accountant? How much are they paying for an analyst? How much are they paying for customer service? And, the range is going to, if it's outside of that range, it's going to be a little awkward, in terms of trying to make sure you're, if customer service pays $10 an hour and you're offering $15 an hour for customer service, that's, 1.5 times as much, then your expectation should be higher. There should be something special from this customer service position, right? I mean, that's
Absolutely.
just logic. And I agree with the need. Your need is not the same as the employer's need. So you have to look at it from that perspective of what value am I giving to the employer? And if you can show the value with the employer, you show the value of how do you convince an employer that by working with you, they're going to make more money, have more satisfied customers, save more money maybe. These are things that they want to see. They want to know that you understand how to help their business run effectively and efficiently. So if you can show them that, then I feel like that's really how you get that job. So do we have any questions? I see, let's see, Jane downtown. Justin, I see that you have some questions, Justin.
Yeah.
Did you want to come on, or do you want us just to answer here? Oh boy.
Wow.
Oh, we got some ugly people here, huh? So Justin, what kind of position are you looking for?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So he'd rather, I guess, answer from there.
Oh, you love marketing. Are you doing marketing now? Oh, you're doing consulting. Very awesome. Awesome. So are you looking for a new, okay, you love marketing, you do consulting for several companies. Are you looking for a new job, or are you looking to help us with marketing ourselves? Okay. So right now you're consulting, you have different clients, you're jumping back and forth and you're looking for something. Woo, you're getting married.
Congratulations.
Gotta impress the new wife, right? You must have heard must have heard the story about the money. All right. Okay, so I guess I have a few questions. So you can contact any of us at our using our handles. You can see them up here, Misty, Coach Kat, and myself. We're all here. So feel free to follow any of us and send us a tweet or direct message. Yeah.
I have something. I was just thinking. Were you done talking? I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm so sorry.
No, go on ahead. Perfect.
But I don't know what his first name is. I'm just gonna call him Mr. Money. And so what I was thinking was that my suggestion, to be really honest, is to be stabilized in your marriage first for just a little while, because that is a huge life transition. As a person that's been married 3 times, I'm over 50, but I've been married 3 times. So just basically just kind of get used to your new life. That is a huge thing, so I would just suggest get to know your wife a little bit, and after, I would say, about 30-60 days, one thing I'm thinking that is networking. I was just wondering if you were networking, and I really think that's a huge piece. And also LinkedIn in relation to networking with some marketing groups that are within LinkedIn, might be in your region and or nationwide, could be really helpful to you. Those are just a couple of thoughts that I was thinking about right off the top of my head.
All right. And Kat?
Definitely networking is one of the first things that I recommend to people. 70% at least of all jobs are gotten through word of mouth. So as long as you're letting people know that you're looking for a steady income, depending on the type of consulting that you're doing. Sometimes there's a potential for you to work yourself into a full-time job in some of those locations, or to use some of those clients as catalysts to help you find jobs. A lot of those individuals would be very well connected. And I think one of my favorite things to do, I'm in the Cleveland area, and we have 2 amazing organizations that name the top 100, or there's Weatherhead 100 and North Coast 99. So basically they're the top 100 companies for various reasons in our area. And they will publish that list yearly. And you can also go back on prior years. And my recommendation, those are typically very forward-thinking companies that would probably hire if they see a good person. As a recruiter, we used to have to market candidates to client companies that weren't necessarily hiring. We would say, you know what, this is a fantastic client or a fantastic candidate, and I know you don't have a need for this person right now, but you need to make an opening for them because they're amazing, and here's why. Now, did that work? Not always, but you never know. So if you can market yourself to some of those top companies in your area, and every city has them, that's a way, one of the best ways is to find. And coming from somebody who was in HR, I was an HR manager. I wouldn't say market to the HR manager, because they're going to take your resume and probably put it in a file. You find the CEO of depending on the size of the company, if there's a VP of marketing, obviously that's where you would go, but even a CEO, a president, you're going to start high up. And as a recruiter, I started as high in the company as I could go. And those people get it. They really do get it, that I need to, if I've got a good person, I need to make a spot for them. So if you're good at marketing, market yourself. You are the product, and you can market yourself. You know how to do it.
Yeah, I totally understand. And, I think to Misty's point when she was talking about, your marriage and your job, it's just it's not so much that you're not stable. I think it's just learning a lot of new things all at once is hard. So if you're moving in with somebody and you've got to learn their habits, and then you start a new job and you have to learn everything about the new job, that just can be very stressful to try to learn too many things all at once. So I can understand what she's saying in terms of getting your marriage together. And, in that process, as you're getting, married and as you're transitioning there, that could be that time that you take to figure out, well, what is your marketing strategy and what do you want to do? And how much do you need to be maybe home versus out? And do you need a full-time job or just one really good full-time client? Because sometimes you can get a good client and have enough work that you never really have to get another job, and so that's always exciting. Oh, hello, we got new members. Thank you, Misty, for welcoming our new visitors today. And so I definitely can understand what she's saying. And when you do market yourself, and now we have this powerful tool that I'm sure you're aware of called LinkedIn, you can find almost anybody on there. Lots of CEOs on there. And I'm going to tell you from personal experience, if you don't have their email address, take a very good guess, and you probably will have figured it out. So when you're trying to connect to CEOs, when you're trying to connect to higher level people from certain companies, if it's, if the company is breeze.com, first name dot last name at breeze.com, I think at least 85% of the time you've got the right person. So you can definitely meet them that way.
And you can also call into I recommend people call into the receptionist and say, hey, I'm looking to send so-and-so an email. Can you give me his address? Typically they're not such, sticklers with that type of thing. I mean, they might be gatekeepers on not passing a call through,
right.
And one of the other recommendations that I give people, and again, I think with Mr. Money, I like that. I'm going to call him Mr. Money. With marketing yourself, one of the things I always tell people after you send that resume, follow up with a phone call. And I always tell people to call at about 7:00 in the morning. And the reason you do that is because you're going to get their voicemail for the most part. You may actually catch someone live, but if you do, you've really got their attention at that point. But if you call at 7:00 in the morning and you say, hey, I just want to let you know that I sent you send the resume at like between 8 and 9 o'clock at night. And then you follow up at 7:00 the next morning and you say, just want to let you know that I sent it over. You make it short and sweet. I'm really interested in working for your company. I've heard a lot of great things about you, whatever it is. And, but you follow up with that voicemail. And the reason I like voicemail, not catching someone live, is because they're typically going to write your name down. So they're going to remember your name. They're going to put you on their to-do list. And when you call at 7:00 in the morning, you're probably, depending on if their voicemail is set up this way, you're probably the first message they hear.
That's true.
So.
Too.
That's very good. Very good advice. Thank you. Do you have any, we have a few more listeners. Do anybody have any questions?
I do. I just have to tell my 3 angel eyes, because this is actually a friend of mine, that my hair is on fleek tonight, and you can't tell it because my picture won't come up. I'm having a good hair day, and nobody can see it. That's all right. I'll do a scope tonight. I can't.
Okay, cool.
You're gonna have to like get a picture in there somehow. We're gonna have to find you. Just
I know, right?
one of those. My hair is not on fleek. It's just like
But you still look great. You still look great.
down to my head, so it wouldn't be all the way out here tonight.
Passion for purple. Hello. Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah. Did you have a question?
Oh, she's wondering why she couldn't see you. Yeah.
Oh, passion for purple.
Oh, maybe Mr. Money doesn't know what that means. Like on fleek? Was that what your question? Like, that's a
Like on point. It looks amazing.
Yeah, on point. It's a new
slang term. Back in the day, we used to say bad.
Yeah, bad. Or
my hair looks bad.
Good bad.
Okay. So, Passion for Purple said she just started attending job fairs for the first time in her life, and she noticed they send you to their website for open positions. That is correct. It is definitely very different from job fairs in the past, where they would take your resume, look at it, and do things. Now, some of the tips that I've heard from people who do job fairs regularly is to come early and help them set up.
Wow.
Yes. If you come early, you know, a few companies that you might want to target, and you come early and you help them, you will then be able to have a great conversation with them. And actually kind of get in with the right people. Now, the other thing is, even though they're only promoting, some of them just go there kind of to have a presence, to let people know that they exist as a company, that they are hiring, they have multiple positions. Sometimes they just send their marketing team. They don't even really send their HR team. And I don't know if you've seen that, Kat, but I've seen it where they send like marketers. They're not even HR. They're just there to give out information. Do as much as you can to get their business cards. Get their business cards, follow up with an email, let them know, hey, I met you and do it that day if you can. I met you at the career fair, and I went to your website and I applied, and tell them what jobs you applied for. I applied for these jobs that I saw on your site. You know, thank you so much for talking with me. I look forward to speaking to you soon. Now, if they don't give you an email, I think you still need to get their information, figure out who it is that you've spoken to. So if they don't have a business card, write down their name. You can look them up. You might be able to find them on LinkedIn. You might be able to guess their email address, or you can call into the company and kind of use Kat's strategy of, submitting it and then leaving them a message on their voicemail if you can get to it. Because a lot of companies now have directories, and you just call their number and the directory will link you into the right person. But the other thing about job fairs that I really like is exposing yourself to companies you might not know exist. I went to a job fair recently, and there were so many companies, and I had no idea they existed. Like I get to go home and research them and find companies that are like those companies. So it really, I think as a job seeker, it can really help you you should be thinking of window shopping. If you don't know what you want to buy, get as much information as you can from every company, and then go home and research and say, oh, that looks like a company I might want to join. Also, even companies you might not think you want to work for, get their information, because even though you might not want to do what the company does, they have support departments that might do what you want to do. So maybe you love customer service, even though you don't love construction. But but they have a customer service job in construction, so you might like that particular job, even though you don't want to go out and build things. So I know we're coming up at the end of our hour now, And I'm cool with having like an after hours little chat if you guys want to stay online. I'm not sure, Misty and Coach Kat, if you guys have to go. So you let me know what you want to do.
I actually wouldn't mind staying, and I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the career fair if I could, just from
Okay.
Is that okay? Do you mind if we do that, or do we need to? What's the protocol here? Do we need to leave and come back, or can we just hang out?
I think I can stick for another probably like 25 minutes or so I have. And then I can hand off. If I need to hand off, I can hand off to one of you.
Okay.
So.
With the job fairs, I did want to point out, only because I did a lot of them as a recruiter, as an HR manager, and the response was almost always so overwhelming that I had a hard time getting through everything. And I actually spoke to a graduating class at one of the tech schools that I had referred to, and I decided to bring in all of the resumes that I had to go through. And those were just the resumes, the paper resumes, not the online ones that I was also receiving. So I brought those in to make the point of, this is what you're competing with. Mm-hmm. And I think what I always tell people is, unfortunately, because it is an employer's market, employers aren't always hiring the best suited candidate. They may be hiring what we call in sales as the lowest hanging fruit. You have to make yourself the easiest to hire. So you don't want to make yourself just a number. And at the end of a career fair, that's really what you are. And unfortunately, they have to direct you to the site, and they're directing you to their site because it is easier to filter people in there, to put you into the applicant tracking system, all of the things that they need to do for it. But that's when you make the phone call, you send the email, you get your name out there without being a stalker. You have to be really careful not to be a stalker, because I had those too. There's a fine line. But I think it's really important to realize the sheer volume that they're dealing with when you do apply for a position.
Yeah, and how do you think, now I did hear about, and I wanted to know what you thought about that, the helping with the setting up early.
I loved that. I wish you could see my face, because I was like, I love it. That was me singing like an angel just now. But no, that's fantastic. That is great. That would be, yeah, don't go late, because I can't tell you, it used to irritate me to no end, but employers start to pack up about a half an hour early, always. Yes. Mm-hmm. And it's, to me, it was very disrespectful, but yes, coming there early, having your resume ready to give them, but also, maybe writing some things down on it, or having that personal conversation with them, finding something that you can chit chat that's going to make you stand out, and not just be one of the many people that are just kind of filtering through. Mm-hmm. But I love that, setting up early. I think that's really good.
Yeah, I had spoken to somebody, and they said, "Oh, that's the thing," because
I love it.
We have to go there, and we're like, some people love them, some people hate them, but they have to be there, and they're like, "Oh, it'd be so great if somebody would just help me and be pleasant, help me like get my stuff together, so I'm not frazzled all day, because I have to talk to people all day now." So. Excellent. And Misty, what do you say about these?
I love it. I love that she raises her hand. It's Blab. We're supposed to jump in, right? No, I don't know.
So I just wanted to say that one thing I find that's really, really helpful also is that if people have what is called their personal commercial, people refer to as different things: personal commercial, elevator speech, marketing profile. I've heard it in different oral summary, different terms, but basically a brief synopsis that is who you are. Because it sounds not so great to say, "You got any jobs?" At a job fair. It sounds really, it doesn't sound good. But if you say, "Hi," you say, "Hi, my name is Misty, and I have experience in marketing and writing and developing press releases, and is there any way that I can assist you?" that sounds a lot. You may not be able to give them your whole personal commercial, but at least if you give them a snippet of your personal commercial, that is so much more valuable than, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I notice that preparation really helps. So when you're coming in there and you're explaining to people kind of who you are, how you can help their company, even if you don't know until you walk right up to the company and you go, oh, that's what they do. Oh, well, you know what? I know something about what you do. And it does help. It helps build a rapport. It helps you with the conversation to go up to somebody and say, hey, you know what? I think I know a little bit about this. And let me tell you, right here on my resume, 2 jobs down, I used to do that kind of work. And yeah, take a look at me. I would be very interested in coming in and working with you and imparting some of the knowledge I learned from this other big company that I worked for where I did the same thing. I definitely think that works. Humor is an awesome, and humor. Yeah. Anything you can do to get that connection, where you're like face to face and you're enjoying the conversation, not forcing it, I think always helps. So, and try to have a conversation with every person you want to talk to. Don't just leave that resume. A lot of people I see do that. It's like you're getting in line with your lottery ticket and you're just like, okay, I put it down. Bye. Stop and talk even if you have to wait. So.
Yeah. And I want to address a couple of these here. Angela was asking about the messenger or email. Messenger I'm not as familiar with, but email, and then Passion for Purple talking about the virtual interview. And again, it's something that I can kind of speak to. When I was an HR manager, I was in it was a very high growth and high turnover environment. So not only were we creating a lot of new jobs, I was unfortunately getting rid of a lot of other people. It was a very stressful job. So the turnover was about 50% and the growth was about 10 to 20%. So I needed to find creative ways to get a lot of people in. So I had a questionnaire that I had them fill out with very standard interview questions. And it is tough. Actually, I'll tell you guys kind of stumped me a little bit on that with how do you stand out in those areas, because it is, it isn't like you can have a colorful email for the most part, but I would say that you have to really make sure that your grammar is on point, that you are with your email, that the punctuation, the grammar, if you need somebody to look at it, and, I think those types of things are really important. One of the things I'm really trying to get over this, because apparently it just sort of is the way it is. But when people use the letter U for you or the number 2 for 2, or I'm like, it's a 3-letter word. Is it really take that much effort to type YOU? But I found it, I think that you have to keep it professional, and you really have to make sure that you're, I'll forgive some grammar errors. I'll forgive some punctuation errors, those types of things. But I can't forgive laziness is really what that boils down to. So I think, you'd be surprised at how much you will stand out if you spell out words and use commas and periods and capital letters where they belong.
And I would definitely say that as well for people who are joining job groups online. That is really common for people to kind of not put in full sentences and use a lot of slang and use a lot of the yous and the twos and everything. And, we try to remind people, look, this is as if, there are employers on here that are here to talk to you. And when they see that, it becomes questionable as to whether they want to hire you. I also tell people, if you're looking for a job and you've got a crazy name on, your crazy Facebook name that you like to use, like you might want to not use it. You know, like it's not that you can't have a personality. And I'm not saying don't have personality. I'm just saying let people get to know that you have a skill first, then you can throw that personality in there. You can tell people I've got a nickname and, you know, people like to call me this, but, you know, I'll see people with some crazy names on there and I just have to admit, let them know, hey, you know, I noticed that your name said Pimp Daddy in the middle. Like, what job are you looking? Are you looking for a job? You know, and people do have that. They have these different names, and it's cute and funny for them and their friends. But if you're a hiring manager and you're looking at that profile, you're going, I don't know. I'm not sure I want Pimp Daddy working here because
I can tell you HR doesn't. HR is like, that is, you have to have sexual harassment training.
Yes, exactly. Like, what are we going to have if we hire this guy? You know, and the same thing, there's also some issues about disclosure, how much information you should share online. You know, I've seen women, it's particularly women and men as well, who may have had felonies, that's the first thing they share online in their job hunt. Oh, I have a felony. Does anybody know anybody who hires somebody with a felony? And I say, well, why don't we start with your skills first? And then I've actually heard various things. Some people say, well, it doesn't matter how many skills I have. If I tell them I have a felony, I'm out. So they feel like if they say it straightforward, right? So I have that group. I have the group of people who have children and, you know, hi, I'm a mom with 3 kids and, you know, I don't make a lot of money, kind of what you were saying, Kat. Okay, you know, is that your employer's problem? How exactly do you not disclose so much personal information before, you know, because I think people make a lot of judgments about people regardless. But if you're putting it out there as the first sign, you know, here I am, I'm going to, in my mind, are you going to come to work and the kid are they coming with you? Or did they go to school? What do they do? So nothing's wrong with having children, but, you know, and people's mindset is like, okay, well, obviously that's really important. So, you know, maybe you're never going to be at work because you have kids and they're sick all the time and they have all these problems. So you might not be the best employee. And you could be a totally fine employee, but they would never give you a chance, you know, because they're assuming that that's really important and more important than your job.
Absolutely.
So I think you've got to pay attention to what you say online.
Hey, Chantel, I'm so sorry to backtrack just a little bit, but I was thinking about how to sound unique in the email.
Oh, that's a good one.
I want to hear this.
Awesome.
Passion for Purple, I think she was asking that.
Uh-huh.
And one thing I was thinking about is I really believe in what's called the T cover letter and the point by point cover letter, and it says you require, I offer. And so it takes the major talking points in reference to the job, and I believe that's you're taking your skills and that job and making that mesh, you know? And so she may want to just highlight her major talking points as to why she feels she's the best candidate, but also as well too, when people start off cover letters, I shouldn't say don't do it, but you know that common thing that people say, I'm applying to this job because of da 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 da. You know, be a lot more unique in your hook, so to speak, you know, like, are you looking for a person that has a great track record, you know, with customer service and marketing skill? You know what I'm saying? You know, hook them in. And so I would suggest that same thing with the email component, is to have a good hook in the beginning and to have your major talking points as to how you're the best person for the job too as well.
I love that. And I love where you could
add that part.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. And I think, you know, kind of what you're saying, where you take point by point and say, this is what, you know, you're looking for, this is what I offer. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I've seen people do a side by side, actually,
Yes.
where they say this is in the job description and this is what I do, side line by line, and they'll line it out. That's a strategy definitely that you can use. And I agree with be careful of the formy sounding letters where you sound like everybody else, because people kind of gloss over, like, one of the things, that's why a lot of people say don't put objectives in your resume, because a lot of objectives that I hear sound like the objectives I've heard 20 years ago when I was first applying for jobs. I'm looking for a position that'll offer me the opportunity to grow. Like, okay, are you really, is that what you're looking for? Or, at that point, obviously, and the other ones that say, like, I'm looking for a job as a accounting supervisor at, SunTrust. Like, okay, well, I mean, kind of you already are, because that's the job you applied to just now. Give me more. So yeah, definitely try to stay away from even though it's on the resume apps and it's in those templates, just use that as a guide to understand that just means, like, here's a point in time where you should maybe talk about what you're looking for, or here's a point in time where you've got to have an introduction part, but don't use it word for word, otherwise you will not stand out. I wonder if you can Angela. Okay.
I'm sorry. I was answering them because Angela said she had an interview today where they were asking a lot of personal questions. Yeah. And then Passion for Purple had somebody asking her to log into Messenger. I've not heard of this, but I'm also, I've been coaching for the last 2 years. So I haven't been interviewing from that standpoint. So using Messenger is interesting to me. But I do think that, one of the other things that I always tell people is that you're interviewing the company too. You want to make sure that you are going to be happy there. So feel free to Google that company, find out, information on them. And if it's not a legit company, especially, it's hard to know. If you put your resume on, on Monster, on any of the job boards, you're going to start getting bombarded with companies that may or may not be legit, but there's definitely a way to kind of research them, and you should be able. They should provide you with enough information so that you can do that. And if they don't, I would be skeptical. And I think that you're right in ending the interview. Glassdoor, yes, Glassdoor is take Glassdoor with a grain of salt. It's just like Yelp or anything else, where I think people are, the disgruntled people are probably going to be the loudest. But Glassdoor can be a very, very good resource.
Definitely. I do think, like you said, Kat, well, I do know Glassdoor, but I mean, you can even look at Indeed, even look at Monster. A lot of them now have been integrating some form of feedback about companies. Go to their website, read through their website, and, there's a lot of lists out there. There's, Forbes has lists, Working Mother has lists. I mean, whatever it is you want to do. If you're a person of color, they have Black Enterprise has lists, and so a lot of magazines out there have lists of best places to work for whatever it is you do or whoever it is you are. Look at those lists and kind of research through those areas to see as well what are those lists saying, and they also have companies that are not so great to work for. The other thing you can do in terms of researching as well, and something people don't do that often, is go to Yahoo Finance. You can see how well the company is doing in terms of growth, in terms of stock prices, in terms of just there can be a lot of information in places that are not so commercial, and you can kind of find out, oh, well, did they buy somebody out, or did somebody buy them out recently? Are they going through a bankruptcy? Do they have these? Because sometimes we think about things like the obvious. Oh, is it fun? And do I get a cube? And can I sit by the window? But, you kind of have to make sure that that the window's still going to be there 6 months from now. So I would definitely say, when you're doing your research, make sure you try to research places that have, look beyond just this is a cool place to work, and kind of look at the company. Like, would you invest in the company? Is it a company that you think you could be really proud of at the end of the day? Because those are going to be other things that will determine whether you want to be there for a little while just so that you can get some cash, or a long-term career option for you. So I would definitely look in multiple different places for information about companies.
I was thinking that if you're ever asked questions that you don't feel comfortable answering in an interview, I feel you have a couple of different approaches. Mm-hmm. So one is, you could answer the question, how many children do you have? I'm making stuff up. How many children do you have? Are you married? You can answer the question. Or you can, I coach some people that you can be humorous about it. You can approach it with humor. Mm-hmm. I actually was in an interview one time, and they knew that I was from California. And they said to me in an interview, well, we think of Californians as tanning, eating fruit nuts, and surfing. And I said, wow, I do 2 of those. So, I approached it with humor, so some people can do that. But also at the same time, there's what I call the politician role a little bit. The politician role kind of gets to the heart of the matter. Like, if they say, hey, Misty, do you have any children? You can say something like, if you're concerned as to whether I'll be here every day, I just want to assure you that I'll be here at this job at the appropriate time, and I will give 110%. So you're getting right to the heart of what they may have concerns about. But also as well, too, if you're asked an illegal question or something, I tell people you can do what I call act as if you don't know, and just go, I was in this class one time, and I think Misty was teaching it, and she was saying something about illegal questions that employers can't ask, and I think it was questions like, so you're basically giving them the opportunity to, oh, wait a minute, maybe I should phrase that a different way, and so certainly just wanted to mention some options that people have in relation to questions if you're feeling uncomfortable with them.
Yeah. And then I did have the question too. Let's say you do get a question that you feel uncomfortable about. Do you feel like addressing it could not get you the job? And if you don't get the job, is there a recourse, or are you kind of stuck without having the job,
And do you want a job with a company who judges on those types of things? I mean, I think some hiring managers don't. I had to work with hiring managers that were new to the interviewing field, and they didn't know what they were or were not supposed to ask.
Right.
And I actually remember a recruiting firm that I worked for that the gentleman, we were working late together, and I could hear him interviewing, and I'm not joking. He asked 6 of the 7 kind of restricted questions. He asked what religion they were. This was through the course of about an hour conversation. Oh, you go to church on Saturday, so are you Seventh-day Adventist? Oh, so are you married? Is that your wife? I mean, it was just all of these questions, and I did sort of like what you're saying, Missy, where I came back. I was a peer, so there was really no. I had no ability to do any type of training with him or anything. I just came back. I actually did exactly what you said, where I said, hey, I've been taking this class and they're talking about questions, we should be careful of. And I listed some of them, and try to approach it that way. Now, for me, that was several years ago, and I wouldn't do that now. I would probably just pull them aside and be like, listen, dude, you can't ask those questions. You're going to get us in legal trouble. But a lot of times they don't know. And I do think, you may have to be careful, like you're saying, not answering that question. And if that could cost you the job, but I don't want to work for a company who doesn't honor the fact that I have a son and I'm a single mom and I might need to take some time off every once in a while. Now, does that mean, and kind of like what Misty was saying, especially I think if you can say, if you're concerned about that, it's never been a problem in the past, and I don't anticipate it being a problem now.
Yeah, I like that answer, and I think that that's a very straightforward way of answering the question without actually answering the question, and taking a little bit of that power back, because like you said, it is a employer's market, and that can make people feel like they have power over you, or make you allow them to have power over you, because you're going, well, if I don't get this job, then, it's no gas for a week, or no rent being paid, or
right.
whatever it is. So a lot of times you cave. And I also think I find that people cave mostly because they're unprepared, not because they agree with it, not because they think it's okay, but because they haven't practiced those tips that you just gave. They haven't practiced, well, what if they ask me those inappropriate questions? Then, like, I haven't practiced saying anything against that. So it has happened to me, and, it kind of just caught me off guard, where it was like I found myself answering it and then going, but this is not okay. Why am I answering it? But I don't know. I know it's not right, but I totally never expected it and didn't know what to say. It's, and then you can't, if you say it after the interview, at that point, what do you say? And like you said, there are people who do ask that question because they're just trying to make small talk, and they have no idea what they're supposed to ask. How's the weather? How was traffic? So
one of the pieces of advice that I give people when they're in interviews is, well, two things that I think everyone should do. One is be comfortable with uncomfortable silence. Some interviewers will use silence to get you to talk more. So let's say you've answered a question and you've finished the answer, and then they just kind of look at you. I had a manager who used to do this with me. She was a regional. I was actually in retail management. She was a regional manager, and I would answer a question, and then she'd just sit and look at me, and I would fill that silence with babble, basically, and say, wait. And then at the kind of like what you were saying, Chantel, where afterward I'd be like, why did I tell her all that stuff? It was because, and she told me later that she was using that uncomfortable silence to get me to say more. Mm-hmm. And, people will use that tactic. The other thing is to bring a pen and paper in. And if somebody asks you a question that you're uncomfortable answering, and you want to take a second to think about it, or not even uncomfortable, maybe even unsure, and you want to take a second to think about it, say, that's a really good question. Let me think about that for a second. And you can write something down, whatever it is, but it's okay to just have some silence to kind of process something, as long as it doesn't get to be too long. I've had that too, where candidates, the uncomfortable silence turned into, uncomfortable laughter later, but you have to be kind of careful with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's about 9:30 and I have to go. I don't know if you ladies wanted to continue the conversation, and I can put one of you down as the host, or
I think we could do a to be continued next week and invite everyone back. We'd love to have you guys back. Great questions.
Definitely. Well, thank you. Like I said, you can visit any of us, follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handles are all up here. We all have websites that you can find us on.
And I have cute hair tonight.
What'd you say?
I have cute hair tonight.
And then Kat's going to give us a picture of her cute hair.
I know, I don't even have a profile picture up here on my on my thing. Dang it.
Yeah. You should take that picture so that, and outside. You should
That's
take
right.
that
Yes,
picture
I
now.
need that. I need to do
In
that.
the dark.
In the dark. That's what I did. You know what? I saw your guys' picture and I loved it so much that I took a picture outside and it was dark and this was just my shadow.
All right. Thank you, ladies. Thanks for coming. We'll
Thank
see you
you
next
so
week.
much.
8 o'clock, Career Chat with Sweet Job Spot. Bye.
Bye-bye.